It was a mild winter on Reticot in the year 5500, Reticot years that is, being a measure of only some 60 days. A generous winter for a crew living behind decreasingly waterproof wooden panels against the sheer side of a remote mountain. But inside this half-baked colony, fully baked potatoes flowed from the kitchen, and carefully interlocked sandstone tiles spread from corner to corner of each room. This was the work of the newcomers, Comeriero and Tumus, both would-be or have-been enemies of the lost colonists. They brought more than their skills to the table. Being from opposite ends of life on Reticot, they had invaluable insight on the ways of the world. A long time ago, after the world was rolled out, the tribes were like a fur upon the land, Comeriero explained, over a buffet of steaming mud nuggets garnished with juicy winter berries. In the beginning, the skies gave fire and water, and our ancestors learned how to live in the endless caves and roam the long plains. Then, after 50 generations, the sky was turned away from us. It twisted up and rang out with the flashes of zappers, the ones you call the cosmic people. It was a war that would not end. They took what they could, and we kept what we could. Then we went on 50 generations more. The final era is now upon us, as the rolling mass reverses. Your arrival is the sign. So you ain't never seen any kind of fuzzy place with lights and healing waters? Boy asked. Your holy place. I do not know where it is, or what it is. It's a piece of the Almighty, Lady said. We have to locate all the pieces. That's how suffering is ended. I wonder, if you find this piece, will our lives be ended? No, they will be saved. Saved from suffering. That is the meaning of the roll-up. But suffering is a property not of the mass, but of the people. It does not intend to spare us. No, the Overlord is doing this for us. We just have to help by bringing his light to the final bits. And Boyd says it's here. Lady looked over to Boy, who was deep in thought. Could it be that those old cosmic people, those zappers, that they were crusading too? And they didn't find anything? I would be careful tying yourself to the zappers, Comeriero said. They had no higher purpose. They have their legends and visions of the mass, but it is simple and flat. You may have accessed their secrets, but do not let them seep into your mind. There'll be no hope for any of us then. Boy and Lady pondered this miniature sermon as they would any other in the old town hall. Staves wasn't interested unless there was at least a little heresy implied. The vanilla teachings hadn't satisfied him in a long time. Then there was Tumus, stuffing his face with the mud nuggets with finesse that put the huskies around the table to shame. Bloody butternut trotters! This ain't no paste, is it? He eventually said amid the contemplative silence. Spacewonk, are you a zapper? Boy asked. What's a zapper? Like the people who live out there, who came from the cosmos, space as you call it. Erefs and Tets they're called. Erefs'll tear you a new one with their ordnance and the whole nut, but Tets would rather pay you off. Not Marcin though, is it? Couldn't even get on a trip to Boca. Here I am doing the Outrider junk with a bunch of you butters, and you're clueless. You even getting this? So, you're not a zapper, Boy nodded. Look, I don't know about the world ending. Been here for bloody yonks far as Orbital says. Been up there a while, I reckon. If everyone down here dies, they'll ping one back to the core and have a fresh bunch of you loons on the ground within 50. Could get yourself in stasis somewhere if you want to see it. Are you trying to talk about the roll-up, Eater? Comeriero asked. Nope, that's you. I'm talking about the future. I mean, you clearly don't have the faintest where you're from or where you're going. That's the problem on the rim, isn't it? Tumus, where are you from? Lady asked. I'm from Earth. At least, I spent a few hours there in the start. Or pretty close to it. Obviously you won't find someone from the surface here. Lady gave a blank expression. Alright, that's not obvious, is it? Bits of all kinds, aren't there? Boy concluded, suddenly standing up. The scrape of his chair punctuated the silence that followed. Then there was an echoing groan from outside. The the call of the mega sheep. The 4 huskies were straight out the door and added their barks to the racket. Following them, the crew saw a man with a knife in his hand standing at the entrance to the fort. "Bring out the tender's body and I'll let you go for now," the man shouted, his voice youthful despite his haggard appearance. The accent revealed his origin, and Comariero stepped forward. "The fireman is dead. I am alive. Both things are true, so you can go on your way, penitent," he said. "You're him! You've pushed the kote, twist up! Fight me!" the man demanded. Comariero shook his head and went back inside. Enraged, the man brandished his knife and charged everyone else. Boy threw his jacket over Lady's head, then jumped forwards with his dagger in hand. Staves looked to Tumas, who looked back. "This happens sometimes," Staves explained as the 2 knife fighters slashed and dodged. "Yeah? You're not helping them?" "Need my thunderbolt, but we don't have many tubes. Plus, Boy feels like he isn't very brave since he always lets me kill people, so I think it might be kind to let him do it." "Wonk!" Boy snarled. "But you can help if you want," Staves nodded. "Loony budders locks to captains!" Tumas exclaimed, which probably meant something. He ran back into the hall, seeing Comariero sitting at the table. "You can use mine," Comariero said, pointing at a bow and arrow set in the corner. "Virtual game in real life, this place," Tumas said. Probably meant something too. He grabbed the bow, ran outside, and shot an arrow precisely through the center of the attacker's chest. The pause this brought upon the man saw Boy's dagger in his throat, and that was that. A bloodied Boy looked to Tumas. "Told you I'd help," Tumas shrugged. "Good work, pirate," Boy said, sounding sarcastic. "I'd say so." "Oh, you think you're next, that it? Calm it." "Not saying I'm not grateful, but the weapons aren't for you, mate." "Waste then. I know a few things about 'em, on account of me old job." "And how do we know that you still aren't doing that job, huh?" Boy asked as he took quivering Lady by the shoulders and led her away. "Orbital's not a place you go back to. They bring you back, or nothing. This was a last straw. I ain't gonna... Is she alright, by the way?" "She'll be fine, just deal with him," Boy said, nodding towards the corpse. "Pfft, new butter same as the old," Tumas muttered. The dogs helped him drag the corpse out to the dumping grounds down the mountainside. About halfway it occurred to him that he could just run off and try to find more eaters to link up with. Perhaps that was what Boy was hoping for. But what Lady had said previously was true. He owed these Outlander goons his very life. Wasn't very pirate-like to care about a scant debt like that, but maybe Tumas wasn't very pirate-like. With a cloud of dogs dancing around him, he trod back through the frosty grass leading through the tall granite walls. This was in the 2nd week of winter, a winter due to only last 2 weeks. Since it was mild, Boy's tongue-on-the-soil techniques determined that an early sowing would get them 3 harvests from their fields. Therefore it was time to turn over chilly dirt and plunge seeds into mounds of the finest manure the megasheep had to offer. And when it comes to muck plunging, 6 hands are better than 4. "Oh, it's real spongy," Tumas said as his fingers tunneled out drill holes for rice seedlings. "That's 'cause it's ready. First time in the mud, space wonk," Boy said beside him. "Not much of this on Orbital. We have these, like buckets, where you have the electric lights to bring them up." "Electric? What?" "Ah, fine. Blow work." "Wait, you can grow things using those fireballs?" "Somehow, I don't know." "People always been trying to grow things by firelight since the beginning. Doesn't work." Boy confidently nodded, patting his most recent plant child into place. "Maybe, but you know, people live on Orbital their whole lives, just eating this butternut paste." "They're growing butternut squash." "Just a figure of speech, butter." "Right. Anyway, tell me what you're doing. I want to get into this." "You want to get into farming?" "Or whatever. You know, it's all new to me. Living outside and stuff. Outside's not like this on a core world. No outside to speak of on Orbitals, apart from the real shiny get-ups on the main drags. This old stuff, this natural magic, it's kinda relaxing after all that, butter. Never seen food getting pulled out of the ground. Natural magic, bunk to chunk. Heard people did it. No clue what all this crusty stuff here is, though. It's mulch. If you haven't heard about mulch, you'll love it, Boy claimed, a reservoir of pent-up farming wisdom bursting from him in the hours to follow. Toomas didn't even think it was beneath him. Not only was he not a pirate, he wasn't even a wonk, it seemed. However, this calm homesteading scene was ruined by the coming of a powerful frost at the start of spring. The chills spared over winter crashed at once along the mountainside. Boy opened his door one morning and let out a pained cry. His fledgling crops were beneath a foot of snow. Seeing Boy digging the snow to try and recover some, the husky dogs did the same, but this was neither helping nor cheering him up. This sudden coming of below zero temperatures was more than just a gardening mishap. Now that the next harvest was pushed back to bits knows when, the reserve of food from the previous year would run out weeks too soon. Luckily, someone knew just what to do. First frost to stall the bloom. The mass curls and stretches and leaves us what we need, if we are not chosen for the cote already, Comariero explained. Everything clear now? Okay, he was eventually pressed into giving a more detailed plan. The next day he and Staves were crunching their way out into the gleaming woods. Comariero held his hands together and scanned the landscape. Staves used his loaded rifle like a walking stick, being unused to the effort of winter travel. We are close, Comariero whispered, pointing to a bank of rocks covered in sprouting bushes bent out of shape by the weight of the snow. A slight twitching was visible beneath them, shifting snow about. Now, meat man, show me your zapper skills, Comariero nodded. Staves began to dance, but after a brief clarification, he raised the rifle and put a thunderbolt into the pile of twitching snow. Immediately it was thrown about by a squirming boar that disappeared from view. Moving to where it had been, its trail was clear even without the drizzles of blood marking it. Come, the cold weakens their will. It will die before the ground where it lay grows cold, Comariero beckoned. Staves hiked after him as they crossed the rocks in search of their dinner. Are you a noble? Staves asked. Noble? You mean a chief? Maybe. You're hunting. Regular people aren't allowed to hunt. I don't know what you mean. Just things were different in my old home. Ah, yes. You said so before, that you were loved at home. Tell me of your home, meat man. I lived in the castle. It used to be that I had to stay in the stables, and I wasn't allowed to talk. One day the nobleman Griffin saw me and said that I should go up to the halls. Up there I was allowed to talk, but I didn't know what to say. So I sang for them. I did that for years, and when people talked to me, they would say that they loved me. It was just something they said. They never told me what they meant by it, but everyone thought it was important. But I noticed most people didn't get told it at all. What does that mean? There are games one only learns by the fire. If your cave was large enough to keep animals, it probably had many servant caves. When many servant caves work for masters, the masters change. For you, they were allowed to hunt. In the Tranca, we were allowed to grow plants, as your friends are doing here. This must be what your word noble means. To be different, like this. I can tell you, as a noble, that love is something that changes with you. Nobles love the mass to cover the hatred in the eyes of their servants. That is what I saw from beside the fires every day. If you try to do any different, it creates a great wave of anger that topples you. So that is how it must be. You, meat man, were loved by those who had to love for the sake of their very lives. I believe that is why your world seemed so full of love, and now it is like a lake taken by zappers. But you must listen carefully to reality. Love in the wild is real and can go unspoken. It is not what you think. It is a mystery. It is a hunt, and it blends into darkness and light with equal cunning. Understanding this is difficult, but only the beginning. Such is the wisdom of the original tenders that we must carry on into the roll-up. I am glad to have spoken of it again." "So, it's okay that no one will say it?" "Perfectly flat, meat man." "What should I do if someone does say it now then?" "That is a lesson I do not think you are ready for. Yet hold your strength, as everyone can learn. That is what the chiefs don't want you to know." Maybe all this made things a little clearer for Staves, or at the very least would reduce the chance of him making things awkward for everyone else. One thing that certainly helped was the haul of meat they brought back from the wilderness over the coming days. The frost had impacted plenty of creatures expecting a warming spring, leaving caches of naturally refrigerated pickings across the mountainside and easy tracking conditions for everything still venturing out. The meat was prepared by Master Butcher Comeriero and turned into some mighty meals, while the leftover rice and mud nuggets were given to the mega sheep, since the snow had ruined their mountainside grazing scene. A few days after it came, the ice retreated and warm air rolled down the mountainside from the north. True spring sprung, and at once Boy, Lady and Tumas were in the fields, replanting all that had been lost. As a consolation prize, the frost had done a lot of weeding for them, so they were able to rapidly sow all of the fort's interior space and even start some large fields outside the walls. Altogether, they were planting 10 times more than the previous year, and growing it even faster thanks to a second year of soil tilling. Within a mere 5 days, the first rice plants were producing their seeds, breaking Boy's own personal best from back home. Suffice to say, the food situation was going to improve rapidly, if only in volume and not variety. While the plants were growing, there were plenty of other projects to be getting on with. Tumas helped Lady lay a front of bricks across all of the wooden walls of the fort's interior, while Comeriero chiseled out fresh bricks with impeccable speed. Staves directed Boy in the construction of better wind catchers to provide more blowwork, which was used to light up the whole interior with glass fireballs, or was stored in hefty batteries, which Staves called heaving chests. You can take a moment to determine what thought process led to this name, but we'll move on to discuss another idea floating around the fort. This was the notion that their so-called flat cave could incorporate some real cave elements. By digging into the mountainside, they could mine out new spaces to store their crud and what have you, and it would require no expansion of the outer walls. Plus, it wouldn't even be visible to passing robbery prospectors. Then again, tunneling into the side of a mountain was a difficult task. Lady had already got the hang of using the Cosmic People picks from the colony kit, put to good use harvesting the rocks used for the bricks. Still, it was tiring work, and the slow process of making a passage through the granite and marble mesa diminished her initial enthusiasm for creating a den under the mountain. They had the right idea though, and artificial cave building was commonplace among the Boka tribe. Commonplace enough that they happened to have an expert miner with them when the yearly Boka caravan passed by the fort in the second week of spring. Boy and Lady met with them outside the stone walls. Strangely, a few were dressed in synthetic cloth, like Tumas had been. "You've become like Arifs already," the caravan leader commented, pointing to the walls. "Had some trouble with the locals," Boy said. "You'll be in even more trouble trapped inside there. Working for us so far. Anyway, if it makes you happy, we're gonna try and do things your way." "You will tear them down just because I said so." "No, I mean digging stuff. Lady?" "We want to make a cave in the mountainside, but we aren't really sure how," Lady explained. At this, the caravan leader's face lit up. "I have just the thing for you!" he excitedly claimed, rushing back to the rest of the group. Lady eagerly expected some kind of miraculous digging technique, some natural magic as Tumas was calling it, but instead she was presented a tall woman in a thin pink tube of cloth. Her face could be best described as creasy and uneven. Boy used the term monstrous in later descriptions. Her hair was paper thin for the most part, but a wide braided ponytail ran down her back. You can help us?" Lady asked. She's for sale, the caravan leader proudly announced. Sale? What do you mean? Lady went on, lowering her brow into a scowl. This high-quality product worked for 10 years on the cave of the Great Spider, but there was a problem, and she was sold on. We've had lots of interest in her, but since you people are looking to become regular customers, I'll give you a discount. You only pay 1 in 10 pieces with her. Only 1 in 10. I'm not buying anyone. You're a slaver, Lady shouted, spitting on the ground and taking her leave. Oh, what did she think I was? The leader asked Boy. Boy just shook his head. Then he addressed the slave. Where are you from? He asked. I used to dig for the cores in the belt, but we got cut out by the merger, and I wound up here, she explained. Her voice was buzzy, shrill, piercing, inescapable, rough but slippery. Combined with her unusual face, which might generously be called abstract, Boy felt like he was a brave knight facing down a terrible creature. 1 piece in 10! Or 1 piece in 20! The caravan leader cheered out through a strained smile. You got a home? Boy asked the slave. Never had a home. But you should buy me, Shaky. I can dig out diamonds from a star, she said. While reading her face was like learning a new language, Boy felt like she was in trouble. And back home, he had certainly developed a habit of sympathizing with picked-upon slaves. That's why he soon found himself paying a mere 1 in 30 of her price to relieve the caravan of this cursed miner. Thank you so much, the slave grinned. I promise I'll worship your rolling mass real good, and I can dig you a cave better than anything the zappers can. We ain't a tribe here, miss, Boy said. We ain't really anything I can explain, but I need you to help my sister. Your sister? Oh, I get it. I've been looking for my sister too. She's on this planet. Hard to keep looking when, you know. You're looking for someone too, then. Everyone has their own crusade, Boy sighed. So, do you want to give me a name? The slave asked. This ain't no slave camp. Take your own damn name. Do a job for me and I'll give you food. But before we go in, there's a whole lot of stuff I gotta explain. We gotta play this carefully. I'll do whatever you want. I'm great with people. Don't worry, I'll fit right in. And quietly. Boy wiped his face with a grubby hand. Inside him there was a battle between his sense of honor as a would-be knight, his buyer's remorse at the woman's abrasive presentation, and most of all the guilt he would face when he explained to Lady that he'd just lined the pockets of a slaver, 1 piece in 30 though it might have been. Perhaps it was all for a good cause. Let's see what this nameless tunnel rat can bring to the table.